Welcome back to Your Fantasy Nerd, and today we're finally going to get to our wide receiver rankings, our July-August version, so I will quickly run through our top 10. No surprise here, Antonio Brown at number 1, changing from our May-June, but most analysts have him there. Number 2, Demaryius Thomas. Number 3, Odell Beckham Jr. Number 4, Calvin Johnson. At 5, Dez Bryant. Number 6, Jordy Nelson. Number 7, Julio Jones. Number 8, Randall Cobb. At 9, Alshon Jeffery, and rounding it out at number 10 is A.J. Green. So the first guy we'll talk about here is my personal favorite, Odell Beckham Jr. at number 3. What do you think of Odell this season?
I mean, Odell Beckham's a stud. If he played the whole season last year, he would have been probably the number 1 running back, wide receiver. And he's just a freak athlete. I think that he'll have a much similar year. I think he'll be a top 5 wide receiver for sure. I think he's a guy who's going to help Eli Manning improve from last season. I think getting Victor Cruz back will help him. So I look for him to have a big year.
Yeah, I personally have him at number 2, and I think sometimes you just got to jump on board when you see talent. For instance, for Odell Beckham Jr., I think he's probably the most talented wide receiver besides Antonio Brown, in my opinion. So I think that in that offense, especially now that under Ben McAdoo's system, I think it's going to be much improved, that Eli Manning's probably getting another year back. I don't think Victor Cruz has all that much of an effect on Odell Beckham's success. I think that while Victor Cruz is a good talent, I don't think he's anywhere near Odell. And so that's why I like Odell here at 3. I think he's a really safe pick. I have him at 2, but in our rankings, number 3. And then the next guy is Dez Bryant at 5.
He's another guy who could be the number 1 wide receiver at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a lot of talent. Like you're talking about talent. He's got a lot of it. He's a big wide receiver. He's a definite red zone threat. He's a deep threat. He's all of it. Tony Romo had his best season last year. Dallas had one of their best seasons last year. But I think losing the run game not going to really. I think it's going to hurt Dez Bryant in the passing game. But I think that will lead to Tony Romo throwing the ball more. But when Tony Romo throws the ball more, he throws more interceptions, like every quarterback usually. And that's why Dallas was so good, was Tony Romo only threw the ball 25 times. He had a great completion percentage. And Dez Bryant had huge games almost every week. You know what you can expect out of him.
Yeah, I think Dez Bryant, I have him at number 6, and I think with Dez Bryant, you have to look at that Dallas offense and say, they're probably going to have to pass more. I mean, they don't have DeMarco Murray anymore. It's probably going to be Joseph Randle's backfield now. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to run the ball the exact same. And that's why I think that benefits Dez Bryant a lot, because in that offense, Dez Bryant is the clear number 1. He is a red zone threat. He's actually had 16 touchdowns last year. And I believe the year before that he had either 16 or 13. So I'm getting the years confused a little bit. But I think Dez Bryant is an absolute red zone threat. Expect 12-plus touchdowns, 1,200 yards. He's an easy wide receiver 1. Take him with ease at your spot. And then the final guy in our top 10 we'll talk about is Alshon Jeffery at number 9.
I think he could be a lot higher if he didn't have Jay Cutler as his quarterback. I mean, him and Kevin White are going to be probably still have some of the best tandem of wide receivers, because I think Kevin White's going to have a very good year if he stays healthy and he gets off this injury he's had that's lingering. But Jay Cutler, I guess, is having a good training camp. Jay Cutler can always throw the football, but he doesn't have the best decision-making. Alshon Jeffery is a definite red zone threat. He's huge. I think him being the number 1 now instead of Marshall will obviously help him a lot. So he's going to have a big year, I think, for the Bears.
Yeah, Alshon Jeffery from our May-June version, it was actually number 6 because it was solely based off my rankings. I had him at number 6 because I thought that originally he was going to be the only threat there. But then when you start to see Kevin White get drafted, you get Eddie Royal in there. I think while Alshon Jeffery's a great talent, just that Bears offense is not going to be good this year. Last year that people thought they were going to be a good offense, they weren't. I mean, they produced decent players. Matt Forte was great. Jeffrey was pretty good.
Royal could have a very good year.
Yeah, he's a sleeper pick, I think, in a late round. But Jeffrey, I think, very talented, but just the fact that he has color bothers me. So I think if you're taking him, you probably don't want to take him as your wide receiver 1 if you're in if let's say you're an early first round pick, I think then Jeffrey's a safe late second rounder. But mid second round, completely avoid Jeffrey. I think there's better options. All right, so now we'll go to our 11 through 20. At number 11, Mike Evans. Number 12, T.Y. Hilton. 13, Emmanuel Sanders. 14, Andre Johnson. 15, DeAndre Hopkins. 16, Kelvin Benjamin. 17, Jordan Matthews. 18, Brandon Cooks. 19, Julian Edelman at number 20. Vincent Jackson from Tampa Bay. So the first guy we'll talk about is at number 11, Mike Evans.
Mike Evans had the second best rookie season last year behind Odell Beckham. Mike Evans was a stud the second half of the season. I mean, he just put up monster numbers, and now they got even a better quarterback. Him and Vincent Jackson are a dynamic duo. I think Mike Evans could slip into the top 7, because I think he's got potential to be a top 5 in the years coming up. But I think Mike Evans is going to have a huge year. I'm taking him if he's there for me.
Yeah, Mike Evans is just an unguardable freak. I personally think that if I'm in my second round, I don't have the balls to do it. I was saying to Brett off the camera, but I would actually consider him in the second round. He's going in the third round, so you could actually take him there. But I just love Mike Evans. I have him at number 9. I really think that people kind of forget about what he did slightly just because of what Odell did last year. And I just think Mike Evans is just the prototypical number 1 wide receiver, 6'5", great hands, red zone threat. Especially now with Jameis Winston being the quarterback, there's no way he doesn't produce top 10 numbers. So I think Mike Evans is a wide receiver 1.
But if you have a late third round, don't expect him to be there.
No,
I think he's
early third round.
Yeah, very early.
Yeah, so he's probably in most cases your wide receiver 2, which is just amazing value, I think. All right, so the next guy is now at 15, DeAndre Hopkins. We have differing opinions on him slightly, but...
I mean, my opinion sort of changed. I liked him a lot going into this year, but now seeing the quarterback situation, like who's going to throw him the ball, it's either Hoyer or Mallett. Mallett's inexperienced, hasn't really played that much. He started a few games last year, and then he got injured. Then you got Hoyer, who's been bouncing around teams. So I just don't know who's going to throw him the ball, but he's got a lot of talent. He's a definite deep threat for them. He's now the number 1, losing Andre Johnson. He was debatably the number 1 target there last year. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. He's definitely a wide receiver 2, not a 1. You can even work him into a flex. So I think there's better options than him in the third round /4th.
Yeah, I actually have Hopkins at 18. The thing about him is that like you said with the quarterback play, he's a good talent. He's not uber talented. He's not this super freak. But the thing with Hopkins though is that now that Foster's injured, they're really, I think, going to not even touch the backfield. I think that
I think Alfred Blue is going to have I think he'll fill in well because he played well when Foster was out.
He does have his good games, but he's not as talented as Arian Foster. I just think that with no weapons besides Hopkins, while you may think they're going to try to force feed it to him and everything, I don't think Hopkins can do that. I think people just assume he's going to jump into this wide receiver 1 role. I really don't think that's going to happen. He will be the most targeted player on that team, but I think his targets are going to be relative. He'll be probably a top 10 targeted guy in the NFL, but the receptions I think won't be there as what people expect, and I don't think the touchdowns are going to be there. I don't think Ryan Mallett or Brian Hoyer are going to get him 8 touchdowns. I think he's a low touchdown guy, so I'm avoiding Hopkins in most of my leagues because he's a third round.
I think there's some sleepers in that offense, though. Like Jalen Strong could have a very good year, and then the tight end C.J. Fedorowicz could have a good year, too, in that offense.
I mean, rookies never have good seasons at tight end, so he could break out in the second year. And then the final guy we'll talk about who has gone almost unmentioned on this show is Julian Edelman at 19.
He's so consistent. He gets so many receptions. If he's a PPR, he can definitely be a top 15 wide receiver because he just racks in receptions. And I think Brady's situation, I don't really think it's going to matter. I think he'll end up actually getting it reduced, surprisingly, because I think it just blows my mind that he's getting 4 games and the guy beats a woman, gets less games. But I think Edelman's he's a stud. He does it all. He helps. He goes unrecognized in a lot of leagues, even in the NFL. He's underrated to the extreme. I think Edelman is a very good player and is definitely a wide receiver too.
Yeah, I mean, look at what Wes Welker was doing throughout his career with Tom Brady. I mean, the guy was a top 5 wide receiver.
And he made the worst decision in the world.
Yeah, now he's out of the league. So, but with Julian Edelman, I have him at I think 17. So I think with Edelman, you look at him and you say, I mean, he's not, his floor and his ceiling are very close, which is why I think wide receiver 2 value. He's great. I mean, he's a 4th round pick. He's someone you know is going to produce wide receiver 2 value, 85 to 90 catches, probably 1,000 yards, 6-7 touchdowns. That's decent value. I mean, when you look at that in a PPR league, I think he's great. I think he could be a wide receiver 1. But with Gronk there, I think that he's probably the second option. But
and LaFell came out strong at the end of the year, and if I know they have a lot of wide receivers and Gronk going along with it. But if you saw what Danny Amendola did in the playoffs, it was just unbelievable. You were missing him all year. And that offense just came together as a whole at the end of the year. So
yeah, I just think Edelman's a great wide receiver too. Don't expect anything less. Don't expect anything more, most likely, in a standard league. So, all right, so now we'll move on to 21 through 30. Going quickly, Deshaun Jackson at 21, Keenan Allen at 22, Amari Cooper 23, Sammy Watkins 24, 25, Brandon Marshall 26, Golden Tate at number 27, the rookie Nelson Agholor 28, Allen Robinson, 29, Kevin White, and at 30, Jarvis Landry. So the first guy we'll highlight is Sammy Watkins at 24.
who's going to throw him the football? I mean, they're going to have to run the ball. They think that LaShawn McCoy, Rex Ryan saying that he can get 2,000 yards, which I doubt, but they're looking to pound the ball. And that's what Rex Ryan always does. He's going to work with his defense first, and he's going to win games because of his defense. He wants to win games 13-10. That's how he always won games for the Jets. And I mean, they're going to run the ball. And who's going to win it? E.J. Manuel or Matt Castle? Like, that's not a good quarterback to have you throwing the ball to. So he's a flex at best, honestly, because I don't think he's going to have he's got a lot of talent, but he's on the wrong team.
Yeah. I think with Sammy Watkins, I actually am at 21, so slightly higher than you. But the thing about Sammy Watkins is he's pretty much in the exact same situation he was last year, besides getting McCoy and Rex Ryan. I think that changes it a little bit, but the thing with that is Sammy Watkins is actually a top 25 wide receiver last year, as crazy as it might sound. You might have thought he had a terrible season. He really didn't produce what most people drafted him as, but he wasn't terrible. I mean, he's very inconsistent, though. He'll get you his 20 points, and he'll get you his 2 points. He's like Kelvin Benjamin, sort of. So I think that with Sammy Watkins, he's a very fringe wide receiver 2 flex option. So I think if you're looking at him as, if you want consistency, run away from Sammy Watkins. I don't think he's anything.
I mean, and there's a sleeper on that team who will go undrafted, Robert Woods.
Yeah.
I mean, he came on pretty strong at the end of the year. He had a few good weeks, but he's also inconsistent.
Yeah.
Their offense was inconsistent.
Yeah. All right, now at number 27, the rookie who was shot up our boards, Nelson Agholor.
Yep, a lot of people would probably be complaining about this because we have Maclin lower, but Maclin went to Kansas City and they didn't have one wide receiver score a touchdown. Nelson Agholor is a deep threat. He's going to be an integral part of that offense in Philadelphia. I mean, Chip Kelly uses everyone. They drafted this guy in the first round for a reason, so I think that Chip Kelly's going to use him, but no one really knows how he's going to incorporate him in the offense because they have 3 very good running backs, and he's going to be the number 2 wide receiver. I think Jordan Matthews is better, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think Agholor.
He's a flex.
Yeah, I think he could really just step in there and become the wide receiver too. I don't think Riley Cooper is going to take that job. I mean, when you look at what happened last year, Maclin was a top 10 wide receiver, Jordan Matthews was a top 20 wide receiver. And now that they have DeMarco Murray, I guess you could say they probably will run the ball a little bit more. But they had LaShawn McCoy, so I mean, it doesn't change all that much. So
and in Dallas, they had Dez Bryant, who was still putting up
he was still putting up top 5 numbers.
Terrence Williams wasn't terrible.
Yeah, so I think what you can expect out of Nelson Agholor is, I think his ceiling is extremely high. I think this guy is super talented. I remember in college watching him a lot. He beats receivers quickly. He's actually, or cornerback quickly. He's actually a really fast receiver. And he's tall too. Or actually, he's not that tall. I take that back. But with Agholor, I think he's probably someone that you don't want to start right away. But if you get him as like a backup, probably a wide receiver 3, I think that's great value for him. So I like Agholor at 27. All right, so now moving on to our 31 through 40. At 31, Martavis Bryant. 32, Jeremy Maclin. 33, Roddy White. Mike Wallace, 34. 35, Victor Cruz. 36, Charles Johnson. 37, Rashad Perriman. 38, Brandon LaFell. 39, Devontae Parker. And at 40, John Brown. So first guy at 32, Jeremy Maclin in Kansas City.
He went to a worse situation. He went there so he could reunite with Andy Reid. But, I mean, Alex Smith is not a good quarterback. They overpaid him. I mean, he didn't throw 1 touchdown to a wide receiver last year. The only touchdowns he threw were to Travis Kelce and his running backs. So I don't know how Jeremy Maclin is in a better situation in Kansas City. He was the number 1 target in Philadelphia. He's still going to be the number 1 in Kansas City, but I just don't see how he's going to put up the numbers he did in Philadelphia. So I just think he went to a worse situation, and I'm actually going to stay away from him.
Yeah. A good example of what Jeremy Maclin is doing is, you guys remember James Jones 2 years ago when he left Green Bay from his 10-plus touchdowns? He went to Oakland to sign a big contract.
All he did was kick garbage.
Yeah, the guy was awful on the team, and he's out of the league now. He's like the 5th wide receiver somewhere. I don't even know, but He might not even be on a team. I'm not sure. But the example here is that when a guy goes from a great offense to a poor offense, it doesn't go well. It doesn't translate. First of all, Jeremy Maclin in Kansas City, they haven't thrown a touchdown to a wide receiver since 2013. That's not a good start. Obviously, they'll probably throw one to a wide receiver this year. But I really think Maclin is – I'm not touching him. I have him at 38. That's a wide receiver 4. I can't even stand drafting him. I won't put him on one of my teams. I don't like him at all. So
unless you can get him at a very good value.
Yeah, I mean, 10th round, 11th round. That's the highest I would touch him. Seriously, I can't stand Maclin this year. And then the final guy on our list we will talk about is at 36, Charles Johnson from Minnesota.
He's a big question mark in my opinion. He's got pretty good talent. He's a very fast wide receiver actually. But no one knows how they're going to play this year. I mean, a lot of people think Minnesota can actually get into the playoffs this year, second behind Green Bay in the division. So we'll have to wait and see. I think Bridgewater will have a good year, so I think Charles Johnson will actually have a pretty good year. I had him at one of my breakouts for rookie wide receivers. So I like him this year, but a lot of people just don't know about him, so they're not going to draft him. But I think if you can get him and put him on your bench and see how he does, I think that he can end up being a flex wide receiver for you throughout the season.
Yeah, I personally don't love Charles Johnson all that much. I don't even have him inside my top 40, and I'll tell you why. The thing about Charles Johnson is when you look at what Cordell Patterson did 2 years ago where he turned it up late in the year, I just really think that is kind of what might happen. I mean, Charles Johnson's more of a possession receiver. He's not going to be the deep threat that Patterson was. But I don't think that in a Minnesota offense that's better but probably still mediocre at best, I think that when you look at that, it just it wouldn't surprise me to see Wallace step in and be the number 1 threat. And then I think Kyle Rudolph will be there. I mean, he always gets injured, so you don't know. But if he's the number 2 threat, the number 3 threat in a Minnesota offense doesn't excite me all that much. So
they don't even have a number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah, Mike Wallace can be, but he hasn't done it since his Pittsburgh days, really. Mm-hmm. So I'm avoiding Charles Johnson. He's another guy I don't think will have a great season, but if you want to take him, go right ahead. I think he's someone that people could easily be swayed on both ways. Yes, but that'll wrap up our wide receiver rankings here for our July-August version. Go ahead and comment. Do you guys like our rankings? Agree, disagree, let us know. Like, and as always, subscribe at Your Fantasy Nerd. Thanks for watching, folks.